All right, well, welcome to Logic tutorial number 3. This is called Instant Drums. I want to show you a couple ways to get drums instantly into your project so that you don't have to spend time programming drums step by step, hi-hat and trying to do it with your fingers on a MIDI keyboard. I showed you the first way already under this Media tab in the upper right. Go into Loops. So maybe it was on Library before. Click on Loops. Navigate to all drums or any kind of list like this where it has different types of drums. Typically I'll make note of my song tempo if I'm going to use a prefabricated loop, because these lists are often sortable, so I can sort it by tempo speed, and I can try to find one that was programmed close to the tempo of my song. So let's take a listen to one of these blue audio files. All right, let's say I like that. I just drag it, right? I grab it right there, drag it into this area right here. And once I drop it, it automatically creates a new track right here. Let's take a look at what a MIDI file does. All right, let's take this MIDI file. Watch what happens when I drag and drop this one in. Drop. It will automatically create a new MIDI track. And for some reason there's a glitch in my home software where this created a bass track. So that's not good. Let's try it with this. There we go. There's a drum kit. Sorry about that. I've never seen that before in my life. Okay. So now we have our two different types of tracks. This type of track, let me zoom in a little bit. The software is set up to where these audio loops will flex with your song tempo. So if I was at 100 beats a minute and I grabbed one that was programmed initially at 120 beats a minute, this type of file with this icon on it is going to flex to consider for song tempo and even song key. If this is a mandolin track or something like that, these will flex to fit with the song. And we won't get into harmonic-based loops because that's kind of outside the scope of what we're trying to do here. But just know that these will flex to your tempo to fit the beat of your song. The MIDI tracks are going to give you more flexibility. If your bass guitar is playing a certain rhythm and you want this bass drum to match it, it's a lot easier to do that with a MIDI track than it is to do with an audio track. If I double click this, it opens up this area down here, and I can try to find my bass drum, and I could nudge it if this were, let's put a snare drum. So if that's my bass drum and I want it to be something other than what it is, I just grab it and move that bass drum to where I want it to be. So the MIDI gives you more flexibility. All right, in Logic, the song length is indicated with a small little square. So I'm going to look for that. There it is, way at the end, way over here after measure 121. So you can change the length of your song if you need to. You can drag that to the left, make it a shorter song. Say if I just want 55 measures, drop it there. And that comes into play with what I'm about to do. All right, so these are both 1-bar loops. If I highlight that one loop and I want it to go all the way to the end of the song, all I need to do is hit the letter L. And that just loops it all the way to that song end. Same thing with the MIDI file. If I highlight it, hit the letter L, as in loop, then it gets looped all the way out to the end of the song. All right. If, hypothetically, I want a break in that loop, I want to break up the monotony and put in a drum fill or something like that, I'll hold down, while this is highlighted, I'll hold down Control and hit L again. Control L is going to turn loops into actual copies. Let me see if there's another way to do that. Let me see if I right click on it. I don't see a way to do that. Oh, there it is. Convert into loops into real copies. So that's another way to do it. Right click on that region. Convert loops to real copies. So that would free you up that if at measure 29 you wanted to drop it out and do drop it out and program a drum fill there, you could do that. And I would do that by, that's the easiest way to show you how to do this. Yeah, I better show you this tool. If you hold down the command button, you get a different cool tool called the marquee tool. The secondary tool is indicated right here. The marquee tool allows you to select whatever you want, highlight it like that. If I just want to delete it, that's the easiest way to select it, and hit delete and it's gone. You know, I can copy that, I can whatever I want to do with it. So that's a way to get rid of a measure real quick. A good way to get rid of a measure. So now that bar is gone, and I can play my MIDI keyboard here, the piano, get my drum notes, and find my toms. Or maybe I'll just do a snare drum and bass drum fill, and it's going to sound stupid, but it'll serve to show you what it could sound like. You could, whatever you wanted to do to break it up. So that's one way to get drums in here quickly, is to grab a prefabricated loop and you know, copy it out to the end of the song and do whatever you want. Often with a more electronic sort of sound, I might go to this EQ section, and it'll look like this when you open it up. I just double clicked right here, and I make a shape, grab and drop, and this kind of gives it a low fidelity sort of sound, like a transistor radio, AM radio. So here's what that would sound like. I'll solo it. So that's another creative use of a loop. Sometimes I'll have a more electronic one with that kind of EQ on it, and then an acoustic kit going up here. All right, well, let me show you another way to get drums. Let's do a new track, a software track. And let's get an instrument a different way. Above your output, there's this area right here. Yours might be blank. It might have this instrument in it, but hold it down the mouse. Go down to Ultra Beat. Open it up in a stereo setting. This is a standalone drum machine. So let me mute the other track so we know exactly what we're hearing. If I turn this drum machine on, and in this session I just push start, think of this as an external drum machine that's kind of linked to this session. So if I just push play, then it's going to automatically play this drum machine at the tempo of the song. And I hear nothing. I don't think there's a drum kit assigned to this. I think is why I thought there was a default drum kit assigned to it. So drum kits, electronic house, just grab one of them. Try that again. Spacebar. Start the session, the song. Man. Think about this. Do I have something soloed? That's weird. Okay, it's responding to MIDI there. I don't know why that wasn't working before. Okay, so once you turn it on, you hit spacebar. It's playing it. Oh, I know why. I had the wrong instance highlighted. And I muted the one that I actually had open. My fault. So this is, there's two instruments that have that same type of drum machine on it. That was my confusion. So highlight the correct one, open it up. Now when I hit spacebar at the beginning of the song, you'll see this drum machine automatically play. So one option for students is to use it this way, to just kind of have it inserted and to let it play along with the pattern they've chosen. The way to change the pattern in this is down at the bottom left, this menu area right here. There's a triangle right here. If I hold it down, I can select a different pattern. And as it goes down the list, they tend to get more complicated, more subdivisions. Let me try number 5. Spacebar. Alright, so it can work as a standalone like that. The way you change the drum kit type, you've seen me do it a second ago, is in this area, grab the triangle, drum kits. Let's see, how about that one? R&B Lo-Fi, hit spacebar. I'll change the pattern on the fly. So that's one way to use the drum machine. The last thing I want to show you is if you want to control this using MIDI data, that's the way I always use this drum machine. So first you need to turn off the drum machine so that it is not married anymore to this play button. If I hit play here, it's not playing anymore. That's what I want, because instead of the machine kind of playing on its own, I'm going to come here after selecting my pattern, and this little window says drag to arrange window. This is just the MIDI data for that pattern. So I can drop it here, and now this MIDI is going to play the drum machine instead of the drum machine kind of playing on its own. Let's go to song beginning, which is going to give you the flexibility to tweak that pattern and do different things in this MIDI area. All right, well, I hope this is a helpful crash course in using Logic, getting drums into Logic. There's a lot of resources out there. So there's some great drum sounds built right in. And, you know, programming the finger drum style can be very musical. It just tends to be time consuming. So getting these drums going with loops can be a time saver, and as well as a creative stimulator for students. You know, they can sound pretty cool, just some of these prefabricated patterns. All right, well, I hope this is helpful, and I'll talk to you later.